Hey Duck fans, Kurt here. Welcome to yet another FishDuck one-on-one. This week we're talking to one of my favorite Oregon wide receivers. I grew up watching this guy. He's one who always played with the, not the tallest of stature, but always with the biggest heart. On teams in the 90s that were known for airing it out deep, Damon Griffin was one of the most lethal weapons in the Pac-10. He spent a few years in the NFL and is now helping the next generation, maximizing their potential the way he did every time he stepped on the field. So thank you, Damon Griffin, for joining us. It's great speaking with you.
Appreciate it, Kurt. Thanks for the time.
Well, you played at Oregon from 1994 through 1998, but for some reason only on the even years. Now, I know football players have various superstitions and all that. Did you have a problem with odd years? We saw you in 94, 96, and 98. What happened in 95, 97, man?
That's funny. I never really thought about it like that. That's pretty good. I mean, that's probably the problem. I didn't get more stats. No, I have no idea what happened on the situation. The main reason was because I was behind Kristen McLemore. So I had to wait my turn, and then just happened that I got hurt in 97, and it's just kind of the way things work. But God, I never thought about it like that before. It's pretty good.
We did see you in 94. That was your freshman year, and we first saw you in the 1994 Stanford game. You caught a touchdown. Wearing number 21 at the time, and that was the night that Kristen McLemore and he broke Ahmad Rashad's touchdown record, and Danny O'Neal tied the all-time, or actually set the all-time touchdown record at 6 in a single game. So you caught the last one in the record-setting night. But when you came in as a freshman in '94, did you have any expectation that you were going to play?
No. I think the same. It was me and Patrick Johnson, and there was a couple guys that were there. I think there was Jamal Walls, and some guys got academically in trouble, and Corey Murphy happened to get hurt as well.
Yeah,
the neck, and it just happened. But the one of the things that me and Pat Johnson, we came in wanting to play. It was one of those situations. As a competitor, you want any opportunity you can, and just happened to be. You got lucky, and more importantly, we were able to have the skill set to be able to perform. And it kind of sucked the first 2 or 3 games because I was just running around. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, route-wise. But, again, when at the end of the day, when the opportunities came about and being lucky to be behind Kristen McLemore and Damon Ricketts, they really just helped us and followed us through. So, when certain opportunities happen, like the Stanford game, it's kind of funny. Right before we were about to throw a touchdown, Daniel O'Neal looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm throwing you the ball." He said, "We're going to get this record because I'm about to be done." And I'm just freaking out because of the timeout. You don't do that to a true freshman 18-year-old kid that's playing in a big game saying, "I'm about to throw you the ball." Like, right. I'd rather be surprised than tell me. So, and it's funny. I got the touchdown. And
Heart's beating like my oh crap, the ball's coming to me.
Yeah, if you see me catch the ball, man, I really look it in like I'm catching this ball. The funny thing was I was so excited, I just ran. I just didn't stop. I just kept running and running. And it's funny because Paul Wiggins, a big tackle for us, he comes to the sideline and grabs me and looks me dead in the eye and said, "If you ever score another touchdown and don't congratulate us linemen, I'm going to kick your butt."
Being that you were from LA, you grew up just outside the Rose Bowl, why didn't you pick UCLA or USC? What made you become a Duck?
Pretty good question. And it's one of those things, too, because I actually was going to go to more UCLA. It's the hometown, the great place. Right. They wanted me to play DB. And it was one of the situations where it was funny. We went to a game. Me and my dad went to a UCLA game. And we happened to be walking down the tunnel. And J.J. Stokes was walking in front of us. I swear to you, my head was where his butt was at. And my dad looked me in the eye and said, "You think you can stick him, son?" Like, "I don't think so, Dad." And he just said, "Well, I think you might want to play wide receiver." So it was one of those things. And again, that hometown thing, there's something special about Oregon. And my recruiting trip was like Kevin Parker and a bunch of other guys. And there is something about this place. And I think it was more about that group. Because the funny thing is I never saw the campus. I mean, they were smart. And it happened to be the week in January. It didn't rain either, by the way. So, it was a combination of so many things that helped out. But it was the group of guys that we were with. I think it was A.J. Justice there and David Coy. I mean, there was a bunch of guys in my class that actually committed that week that I just knew these guys were going to be my friends forever. And they still are to this day. And I think that's what pretty much closed the deal. When I got off the plane, I told my parents I'm a Duck. And I didn't really start until like the 5th, 6th game of the season.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is that whole part, all that time, I was like number 2 in the Pac-10 in catching and receiving, but I was 4th on the depth chart in Oregon.
Yeah.
It's just funny how things work. I mean, there's the Fresno State game in '96. I go on for a play on a flea flicker, and Tony Graziani throws me like a 50-yard touchdown. And I get sit on the bench right after. You know, it was absolutely crazy. And just kind of how that transitioned through the whole progress. But again, I think I come back to being, I'm so blessed for that, because that adversity just kept making me say, who am I? Like, do you really want this? And I just kept working harder and harder and harder. So when I got it, nobody was getting it back.
Well, at 96, as you mentioned, you were named to the All Pac-10 team that year, despite being down on the depth chart. And then 1998, you were also on the All Pac-10 team. 1998 is a year fans will always remember. It's one of those years that stands out for the ultimate highs and ultimate lows, the roller coaster ride of emotion of football. It's always going to be a little bit of a bittersweet year. It was a great year, especially September. Oregon had the #1 offense in the country, unstoppable freight train, 50 points a game guaranteed. People were even starting to mumble national championship contender. And then came that UCLA game. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about that UCLA game. Even in a loss, that is one of the most astounding, remarkable football games I've ever watched in my entire life. It had everything, literally everything, even a quarterback vomiting on the 50-yard line. While understand, I mean, everything that could happen in a football game happened that day. So let's just go over, what are your memories of the Oregon UCLA 1998 game?
No, great stuff. And again, just to kind of rewind back a little bit, you know, that 97 year, I could have came back because I just tore my thumb. And I think Blotti and Coach Peterson came in about the 3rd, 4th game, and I was going to make a decision if I was going to redshirt or not. And they said, look, we're going to have a really good team next year. Not that we're necessarily trying to save you, but we're going to have a really good team next year. And so that's why I sat out that year and then played in 98. And in that Michigan State game, when we were up by halftime by like 38 something. And I remember sitting on the bench and me and Keely with our pads off. See, that's the difference between these guys now. They don't get it. Our pads were off when we were up by 30, 40 points. I wish I had Chip that just kept throwing the ball in the 3rd half, 4th quarter. But anyways, but I remember looking at Keely and looking at him like, are we really that good? And then we're realizing like, we are that good.
You know that Michigan State loss, or that Michigan State win, I should say, is the biggest loss that Nick Saban has ever had in his entire career, still to this day. I mean, that was a good Michigan State team. They had Plaxico Burress, a wide receiver.
State #1 team that year. They beat Ohio State that year, and they were ranked #1 in the country. I mean, they had some big-time players, and we beat them with confidence. And I think once we got that whole Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl class kind of came back, and that's all drawn back from my senior classes, those being redshirt freshmen, is realizing to the young guys, we can do this. There was no difference when we were in 94 when we realized, wait a minute, we can do that. And when you have a team like that, it makes you strong. And, you know, for that UCLA game, there's no question. I mean, we would be going to national championship if it wasn't for Peter Sirmon and Reuben Jones. I mean, those two guys were key. I mean, they were essential to everything that we did. And to lose the 2 top players on your team hurt you. Man, I really could have ended my career after that game, win or loss, because I think that was something that established yourself in what we're doing. But there is no question we would be talking about the class of '98 forever if we would have won that game in overtime. And again, it's just that's what's the beauty of this game. I mean, I wish you could experience it. It is something that never leaves you. And you know, the funny thing is, some of my best games I ever played, we always lose. So that always sucks too, man. I don't know what it is. I should have like 5 more game balls, but it's always because we lost. I always had the best game. So, anyways, but no, the UCLA game, we all knew it, and again, just kind of how things played out. And again, at the end of the day, yeah, we lost, but it's still a victory at the end of the day as well. And right. If you want to say a loss is a loss. You know, but unbelievable situation.
There were certainly the physical tolls, losing Reuben Jones for the year, and Peter Sirmon earlier losing him with the pec injury. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those years that will always remain as a what if. But it seemed like that game, there was so much spent in that game that it kind of killed the entire second half of the season too.
Right. It was, and again, because we knew it. We knew because that was the point right before we knew we were a really good team. We knew we were the top 10 in the country. We knew that. But you know as well as especially like I said in my class, we know how important it is to win every game, and one game can ruin everything. So because of it, but I think also it's just one of those things. It's something that you have the opportunity to prove yourself because Oregon wasn't nationally respected yet. They still weren't. So you're always constantly get that respect. So to lose that game at the end of the day, I still have not watched that whole game yet. I watched about half, and once I started getting because I get excited in the third quarter because we're coming back because we were down. Especially in the first half, how many things just happened that we could have been up, but we still came back at the end. And then once that fourth quarter comes around, I'm just turn this crap off, man. I can't watch it.
All the big plays you made, the one that always stands out to me, the first thing I always think about is in that fourth quarter that you can't watch. Oregon's driving to try to tie, and it's fourth and 16. And you run a deep out, and the ball gets tipped away, and there's no reason why you should come down with this ball. Somehow you tap the toes, catch the tip ball, and keep the drive alive. Oregon scores and sends it to overtime. This is an unbelievable play. What do you remember of that specific play?
It's one of those things. It's funny how that's always been my career. I've done that, and the funny thing is, it's almost routine. As bad as that sounds, that's kind of how I've made my name and how I've always done things. And Keely, before we broke the huddle, was like, "I'm coming to you." He said I was coming to you, and that's kind of the difference of these guys right now that play wide receiver. They don't know how much respect, or more importantly, how much defenses. They didn't care about the run. That's why Ruben Jones was getting so many runs. They cared about the receivers because if you were able to contain us, you had a chance. But more importantly, they had Larry Atkins, who was a top player, the NFL player, and everything. He was just sitting on top of me, and the other DB was on top of me, and Kelly didn't care. That's how Keely was. That's why I will always love Keely, because this time when he says I'm coming to you. And I ran my favorite route. It was a post current. They knew it was coming. It's just one of those things that you don't know why and how, but I knew it was going to happen.
You ended up with the Cincinnati Bengals, which is the same team that drafted Achilles Smith. So your quarterback came with you to your pro experience. So how much of a benefit was that for you, having a guy that you already knew? He knew you. He knew exactly where you were going to be on plays. So to be able to just have that comfort zone of someone you've already been around for so many years in now this NFL experience.
Right. In practice, we killed. In the game, it just wasn't. Because in practice, we did more scouting, whatever had the situation, and we would do our own plays. We were totally just, and they were like, "Stop being Duck, stop that." I mean, they totally just, we didn't even care what the card was, but the comfort zone of doing that. And again, I was with 49ers at the beginning, and I totally thought I was going to be on the team. And the funny thing was, I was being a free agent. I didn't get drafted, but being a free agent, and Cincinnati actually offered me more money, but my agent told me to go to San Francisco because you're going to have more of a shot. Because they just knew Cincinnati was not a good team. It wasn't a good organization. It wasn't a good place to be. And it's just funny how it turns out I end up there anyway. So it's funny. I was like, Keely, you could give me a little bit of what you got. You're a first round draft pick. I was your number one receiver guy. But, we took care of each other there. But
after a few years in the NFL, you decided to get into coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a couple different coaching stops, and now you're also doing work to help out the next generation of athletes. So please tell me about what led you from player to coach, what that transition was like, right. And how much did you find yourself repeating some of the same things that you got yelled at by Oregon coaches?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It all first started out because I always promised my parents I would give back, and it happened to be my nephew happened to be at Monrovia High School, and he was playing. So I happened to coach there, and the smell of the grass, man. Able to call Coach Peterson, Chris Peterson at Boise State. And actually, I called here as well, but they were having like a freeze. But Chris Peterson, I gave him a call, and he said, I have an opportunity for you to be a graduate assistant. If you're really serious about coaching, this is the way, because it's going to be hard. But the great thing is I'm going to pay for your master's. And again, if you're really going to be a coach, this is the way I want you to do it. And of course, I'm going to take it, do whatever I can behind my mentor. And more, my father figure as my coach at Oregon, and no question, the success there. And the funny thing is, my first game, we played against Oregon, the infamous LeGarrette Blount game.
Oh,
that was my first game. And the funny thing, man, I'll tell you this, man.
What was with all the head hunting in that game? Come on, man, that was cheap.
That was my guys too. And let me tell you what, and I'm gonna be honest, and again, I'm a Duck for life. Do not be fooled. I'm a fan of Boise State, but I am a Duck. Okay, but I remember like this is not right. I don't feel right. I don't feel like I should be doing this game.
Right.
I don't. This is not right now. It was like, and then Justin just looked at me and was like, "Who's paying you right now?" I said, "You got a good point." So me and Justin just started going, and me and Justin were going down the elevator, and then you hear the noise, you see LeGarrette, and you're like, "Oh God, come on!" But our guy deserved it, by the way. And by the way, just to let you know, Chris Peterson, like, our guy deserved to get knocked out, by the way. So, we're all for that, whatever the mess would happen. But again, they had success and went to the Rose Bowl anyway. So it's still good at the end of the day. But the coaching did well.
I gotta say, there's some mixed emotions, man, because
I know. But I'm being honest.
Chris Peterson was a Duck. You're a Duck. Justin Wilcox, Peter Sermon. Yeah. Not first you guys go to Boise State, then you beat up our Ducks, and then Sermon and Wilcox end up at Washington.
It's who's getting paid. We got to feed our family. I mean, let me tell you what. I tried first with Oregon. I tried. Coach Campbell said, "Hold on." He looked at me and said, "Griff, we have a freeze right now. We have a spot for you. Hold on." I swear to you. But Chris Peterson called me, and I said, "Look it, I got to feed my family." So, but again, I'm a Duck now. I'm back home, whatever it may be. But learn from that. I've done a lot of great more things, and because of that, like my company now, where again I'm helping student athletes like myself that really deserve an opportunity. And last year, 18 out of my 20 kids got either full ride or partial scholarship. Awesome. So it's not. I'm not looking for the 4 or 5 star guy. I'm not about that. I'm about the guys that had the great grades. I'm helping out a lot of Northwest kids right now that are great, talented kids. I played with guys like Jed Weaver and Josh Bill on those guys, and Jed Weaver was a walk-on and ends up getting drafted before I did, and an unbelievable player, unbelievable guy. I mean, there's so much talent that gets overlooked, and that's where, again, I was that guy that got overlooked, and I'm giving those opportunities to those kids. So, yeah, Integrity Sports, myintegritysports.com. That's my website. So, yeah.
I was just about to plug it for you. So, for parents who have kids or students that are looking at trying to figure out how can I get into college football, contact this man right here, Damon Griffin with Integrity Sports.
Special discount if you're a Duck. Yeah. Special discount. But yeah, again, I actually love, I put the same passion that I did as a player that I do now. That's why I absolutely love what I do, because there's nothing more rewarding than helping these student athletes that deserve the opportunity. And when they sign a letter of intent and their parents call me like, "We couldn't have done this without you," I mean, I don't care about the price of money. There's nothing more rewarding.
We can't thank you enough. Like I said, a little mixed emotions with you coaching at Boise State. But at least you're not Wilcox or Sermon, who went turncoat and went to the Washington Huskies.
That bad. Hey, that is bad. I saw Wilcox and those guys about 3 weeks ago at a high school camp, and again, you go back and say, well, what are you supposed to do? Not work?
But there should be something off limits. You do not go to the Huskies,
and that's why you're a fan, because it just doesn't make sense to you. Only fans look at me like, why? And I'm like, are you gonna give me a job? And that's my question. You have a job for me right now, so I don't have to do that anymore, so I can get a check. That's the question at the end of the day. But at the day, there's a duck tattooed on my arm, Kurt, okay? I'm a Duck forever, okay? And to this day, my mom still says, "A duck on your arm, baby?" I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a Duck. So I'm a Duck for life, so no question.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate all that you did in an Oregon uniform and all that you continue to do to help out the next generation. Send some Ducks to Eugene, man. Come on.
I met with Dontre Willis, baller. Ducks fans are going to be very, very happy, as well as Darren Carrington as well. You're going to be happy with these guys. I saw them play. More importantly, they're good kids as well. So I think more importantly, the success of Oregon is gonna go for a long time now. So it's a great time to be a Duck fan right now. There's no question about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything you did in an Oregon uniform and everything you continue to do, Damon Griffin. Go Ducks.
All day, baby.